do it?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Mish.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. This is Bianca from WAM Workspace and VA Bootcamp, and today's Business Basics Biz Bootcamp workshop is Introduction to Social Media, specifically Introduction to Social Media for Business. So what I'm going to be covering today is really just sort of looking at all of the various social media platforms and how they relate to using them for business. I'm going to do a very high kind of high level introduction to the various social media platforms, and in future courses we'll go in depth on the various platforms. So today is really just about sort of figuring out how to use social media for your business, and I hope that you get some takeaways that are very helpful to you and your business. So there are hundreds of social media platforms. I've listed the main ones that most people are aware of, and the ones that have sort of stuck around, but there have been so many that have come and gone in the past. And so these are the current ones that are the most popular. Obviously, everyone knows Facebook and Instagram. Well, most people know Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn is also fairly common. Pinterest, for anyone who has children or who has ever had to dress up for a function, probably knows Pinterest, because those are the two things that I certainly use it for all the time, is planning children's birthday parties and planning my dress up outfits for a dress up function. Twitter is a short, sharp platform with very short words, and can be a very powerful platform for your business. I don't get it. My husband, that's the only social media platform that my husband is actually on. Snapchat is Snapchat. I also don't quite get that one. I don't actually even know how it's social. It just seems to be a lot of sort of photographs and videos with filters, but it is quite a popular option. Clubhouse is the latest one, which is essentially sort of Twitter or Instagram for audio. So it's almost like walking into a podcast, and you can interact with the people that are speaking and those sorts of things, and you can interact with the other people that are listening to the same discussion or whatever. I will admit to not being very active on Clubhouse, but it is definitely growing, and there's quite a lot of potential to use it for a business platform. So it is something to keep an eye on. TikTok is the short video platform. So the majority of TikToks are a minute or shorter. You can do longer TikToks, but generally it's sort of like an Instagram or Pinterest of mini videos, and you sort of scroll through a lot of challenges and those sorts of things. And then YouTube is a video platform, and I've included it because it's becoming kind of part of social media. Video is very much taking over for marketing purposes, which is why TikTok is so much on the rise. And even Instagram is now telling people that its aim is to become a video platform. And Facebook's algorithm also prioritizes video over other types of content. And LinkedIn and Pinterest have both also added video functionality. So I've included YouTube because it plays into a lot of the other platforms as well. And so it's a really, it's a useful one to kind of have an overview of. So the way I like to explain social media to people that aren't that familiar with sort of the tech world and those sorts of things is, if we imagined that the internet was a large city, and everyone and everything in it basically represented buildings and locations within this large city. Facebook, in my mind, is very similar to a mall. There's a lot of people that are there just to hang out. There are people there that are specifically there for shopping. There are people there that are going to meet friends or who are going to book club meetings. There are shop owners who have shops in the front and who are advertising and trying to get you to come to their store in the mall. So there's a lot of similarities between how we use Facebook as a business and how a shop owner would use a mall in order to gain traction with their target audience. Instagram and Pinterest are two very unique art galleries. Instagram, all the pictures are the same size and they change very, very quickly. And there's sort of a small room, which is where all the latest art is shown, and it changes on an hourly basis sort of thing, where Pinterest is a very large rambling art gallery with art that's been on the walls for 20 or 30 years. And the new art and the old art is all shared across, and it's often the rooms are themed by different themes, but it's a huge rambling space and everything stays there and you can wander around for hours and hours and hours and get completely lost. Sounds familiar? LinkedIn is like a very large convention center where there's always a conference going on. There are bulletin boards, everybody wears a tag which tells you who they are and where they come from. And there is a lot of business to business conversation. And so everyone is there with the purpose of generating or making connections for business purposes. And so it's a very work focused, very specific kind of target there. Twitter is almost like the guys standing on the street corners or at the town center yelling to try and get your attention. Short, sharp, punchy sentences, not a lot of rambling, lots of sort of heckling and people talking backwards and forwards. There might be a couple of posters or images, but it's not a very visual platform. It's far more about the words, and the words are condensed and in very short, sharp sentences to try and get your point across as quickly as possible. TikTok and Snapchat are those kids that are down in the park. You're never quite sure what they're doing. Certainly, this is my view as a 40-something-year-old. You're never quite sure what's going on. They're clearly having a lot of fun, but you just don't get it at all. However, as I get to sort of know and understand TikTok a little bit, it's starting to become, I'm starting to realize that there is potential to do business type videos where you can share a single point of advice or a very quick, sharp demo or something like that. So there is potential there, but at the moment it's still very much sort of something that is not really being utilized by the majority of people for business purposes. And then Clubhouse, I sort of imagine as the sort of trendy poetry club type open mic nights, where anyone can get up at the mic and ramble on about anything they want to, and people can discuss what they're talking about and interact with the speaker in certain ways and those sorts of things. So I just that's my explanation. I find a lot of people find it very easy to understand it once you kind of think of it like that. And I'm going to use this analogy as we go through the different platforms to help you understand what the bits and pieces are that fit into a particular platform. So next we go on to Facebook for Business. And one of the biggest questions that most people want to know is, what is the difference between a profile and a page, particularly when it comes to using Facebook for your business? So the way I like to explain this is your profiles are for people, and Facebook is very strict about this. Every profile should be a unique person. So you should not have a profile for your business, even if you are like a motivational speaker or something like that, you should still have a page for the business side of what you do. And your personal profile is your individual person who manages that page for your speaker page. So if you think about it like this, if we go back to the mall analogy, the profile is the person wandering around in the mall. So there are people that are outside of the shops, that are wandering around in the corridors, that are doing the shopping, that are meeting the friends. You also have people who are standing in the shops behind the counters running the shops. There's always a person involved. There's very seldom that you've just got a storefront that sort of manages itself. So you always will have a profile that's separate from your page. Your page becomes the shop. And so your page is really the storefront. You can't control who walks past your page or who sees it while they're scrolling. You can't control, in the same way you can't control in a mall who physically walks past your store. You also can't control necessarily who can come into the store or not. Obviously, you have a certain amount of security and those sorts of things. But also you have no control over who the people are that are in the mall. That is managed by mall security and the mall's rules. So you just have to hope that your audience walks past your store. And there are things that you can do to encourage that, like putting up advertising boards, pointing to where your store is, encouraging people that have walked into your store to tell other people about your store and to invite their friends to come and have a look at the stuff that you sell and those sorts of things. So your page is your storefront. There is always a person who is linked to the page, and it's important for people to understand and know who that person is. So we don't always want to hide behind a Facebook page. We want to make sure that people are seeing the profile involved in that page, if that makes sense. So then we get to a page versus a group. So if the page is your storefront, a Facebook group is like your back office. So if you, for example, if you are an art store and you sell art supplies in the front of the store, you might have a big back office where you do demos and people pay to come and do a workshop with you, or or you invite your customers to come and join you. Or if you think about things like a bookshop might have a book signing event and it's by invitation only, and those sorts of things. So that's how a group sort of fits into this idea. Groups are where you have a little more control over who is part of your the more detailed information. So groups are like your back office or your after hours. It's where you control who sees the content that you share within a group. And on groups, you've got the option of having them be public. So that would be something like, for example, exclusive books, putting up a big poster to say the new latest book is coming out and we'll be having an event. Please sign up in order to join the event. You can also have a group as private. So that is where it's by invitation only. So people know that the group exists and they need to sign up and come and join you. And you can also have a hidden group. And that is where only people in the group know about the group, and only people in the group can invite people to join the group. So it's not public knowledge. But if you know someone who's in the group, they can invite you, or sometimes it's only the admin of the groups that can invite you. So those are good for things like student groups or groups of people that are part of a course, or if it's a topic that is a little more something like, if you imagine something like AA or something like that, where it's not information that people necessarily want to have visible on their Facebook profiles, they would prefer to be in a group that is hidden. So then when it comes to Facebook for Business, as far as the who, why, how, when, where, the most important thing to remember is that Facebook is probably one of the most widely used social media platforms in the world. So you have just about everyone is on there, and every kind of person is on there. So you also need to remember the why of people using Facebook. So the majority of people are using Facebook to connect with their friends and family, people from school, people from work, those sorts of things. It's a lot about sharing what they find funny, what they find interesting, what they find motivational. And so it's important that you sort of tailor the information that you're sharing on Facebook to the things that people are doing on that platform. So you want to always make sure that you think about how you use Facebook. How often do you click the read more button? How much information do you need before you click the read more button? How important are the images when you're scrolling through your Facebook feed? What is the stuff that motivates you to look at something? And then use that when you're promoting things on your Facebook for business platform. Before I move on to anything, are there any questions regarding Facebook? Probably the one most people are familiar with.
Nope, all good my side.
Cool. So next up is Instagram. And I've done Instagram second because Instagram and Facebook are very interlinked. They are owned by the same company now. So they are very much interlinked, particularly when it comes to business. So Instagram, you've got the option of having a personal or a business profile. You can only have a business profile if you have a Facebook page to link it to. So it's really important to know that you need to have a business page that you can link your Instagram business profile to. The biggest difference between a personal profile and a business profile is that you actually get more sort of analytics with a business profile. But as far as what you can post and how it posts and how the actual things look, they're almost identical. Also, you can run adverts on a business profile, but you can't run adverts on a personal Instagram profile. Generally, I recommend that if you are running a business, that you have two separate ones. You have your own personal Instagram, and then you have your business Instagram, which is linked to your Facebook business page. Instagram is a very visual platform. As I mentioned, they are very much pushing towards video. And so you've got Instagram stories, you've now got Instagram reels, and there's Instagram TV as well, which is where you can post longer videos and they live there for a little bit longer. One of the biggest things with Instagram is that you can't put links into the captions of your images. So you can only have links in your bio. And so there's a platform called Linktree, which is really, really popular. And it's really, really clever, but actually probably hurting your SEO and your ranking for your business. So what Linktree does is it gives you the option to put a Linktree link in your Instagram bio. And when they click through to that, it's got a number of buttons or options that you can point people to in order to contact you or whatever you're selling on your business profile and those sorts of things. What we generally recommend is that you create a page on your website which looks exactly like a link tree. It's a very simple page with a bunch of buttons that tell people what the buttons are about, and you can then manage and keep your own sort of link tree page as part of your platform, and then you're actually building SEO as people click through from Instagram to your own website in order to access the information that you want them to access. It also means that you're not limited by the number of buttons, and you can also chop and change them as often as you want to. So that's quite a important one to keep in mind. As far as who's on Instagram, also huge variety of people, generally quite visual people that like the imagery. So you want to make sure that you're using strong images on Instagram that stand out from the news feed. It's a lot of visual people. Instagram moves very, very quickly. So it is really important that you are posting very regularly on Instagram to get much traction. It can, depending on who you're listening to, it can be anything from 1 to 5 times a day that they recommend posting on Instagram, which can get really exhausting, because that's pretty much a full-time job of producing Instagram posts. Facebook is a little less frequently, but again, it also depends on the content that you're putting out there. Videos are going to get you a lot more traction than still images and all of those sorts of things. So again, Instagram, you can find most sort of industries on Instagram. There are lots of people that really enjoy the platform, and a lot of businesses doing business on Instagram, especially through DMs and those sorts of things, which I find really surprising. It's not my forte. So just while we're talking about all of Facebook and Instagram, it's important to have a look at the Business for Facebook platform, which is where you manage all of your business assets within the Facebook universe. And so that is Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So you can now, so if you are going to run adverts on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp, it's all managed through your Facebook for Business. You can add people to your platforms. You can add pages to your business accounts so that you can manage multiple pages through a single account. You can add your ad accounts, business assets. So that is like visuals and logos and those sorts of things. The business platform for Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp is actually incredibly powerful, and we'll go into a lot more detail for that when we do the Facebook and Instagram training. But it's just, it's worth sort of mentioning that you should sort of get a little bit familiar with business.facebook.com if you are going to be working in social media at all, because it's a really important place where you can access your analytics, you can schedule your posts across the platforms, you create all of your ad accounts in there and create the adverts that you're going to run across the system. So it's a really important area to sort of get familiar with and to know about. So just really an introduction there on that. So then, as I mentioned, LinkedIn is your conference center, very much focused around business. So the majority of people are using LinkedIn for business. Here, it's important to remember as well that you've also got profiles and pages. Your profile on LinkedIn is essentially like that big badge that they wear at conference centers that has your photograph and who you are and where you're from and what your role is and the company that you work at and those sorts of things. And that profile information is public. So you can decide how much of it, but it's really important that you go in and tweak your LinkedIn personal profile to relate to the business that you are trying to build. You want to make sure that the information that you put in your LinkedIn bio, and actually this relates to all of the platforms. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, on your personal profiles, you want to make sure that you are mentioning your business accounts and how to link to your business account, and how potential clients can contact you via these platforms in order to get access to you. And you want to make sure that you're tailoring the information that you're putting in the publicly visible space to be motivational for people to make contact with you should they want to do that for business. And so in LinkedIn, you want to make sure that your little bio intro tells people who you are, what you're doing, and kind of gives an indication of your experience and those sorts of things. Some people will go into it and look through your whole profile and your testimonials and all of those sorts of things. But the majority of people are going to look at your name, your location, your business, and that sort of introductory paragraph. And you want to make sure that you're catching their attention there as soon as possible. In LinkedIn, you can also create a business page. And this is very similar to a Facebook page, although it's not as detailed. It's also not as, it's not as much like a store. It's more like a conference booth. If you were going to an expo where you can have information, so you can post articles on your page. There's a section that shows who's employed by the business. You can link to your other social media platforms and your website. And it is a place for you to be able to share information about the business, for the business, and for people that are looking for information on the business. So always what I recommend is that you do set up a page for your business if you have a business that is likely to deal with business people. So for example, if you're dealing with creatives and people who aren't really in the LinkedIn space, then there's really not as much need to create a LinkedIn page. If you are in a business where you are dealing with corporates, you absolutely need to have a LinkedIn page. If you are somewhere in between, it's worth creating a page, but then you also need to make sure that you are putting content on there that is relevant to that audience. So remember, again, all of the people on LinkedIn are there to do business pretty much. They're either looking for work or looking for people to work for them or looking to make connections that can improve their business. So that is a really strong platform where you can sell by helping, because if you can post articles on your LinkedIn page that assist business people in doing things more efficiently, it is a really powerful platform. So always what we recommend as far as how to get your content out there is you post it on your page, and then when you share, then go onto your profile and share that content via your profile with an explanation of why you're sharing that content. So I think it's really important to understand LinkedIn is very much about community building and connections. If you think about, even when someone invites you to connect, they don't friend you, they connect with you on LinkedIn. And so it's all about building those connections, and everything in LinkedIn is about how many degrees are they from you? Are they first as in a connection? Are they a second, a third, a fourth? How far away are they from you, and how many connections do you need to make in order to get in contact with someone? So what you want to be doing is making sure that you are sharing with your connections why you are sharing information. There's also, they've shown that it's a really good platform for sharing content of people that you admire or people that that you would like to work with and those sorts of things, and sharing that content on your own profile with an explanation to your connections of why you're sharing that. There's definitely very much a sense of sharing content and sharing information within the LinkedIn space. There's a lot of advertising and marketing that happens in LinkedIn private messaging, which I find somewhat annoying. But the platform, if you actually go into LinkedIn with the sense of wanting to learn and help and grow, there is so much information available on LinkedIn, and they're very much pushing this connection and sharing, and ensuring that the people that you're sharing to know why you're sharing something like that. The other thing as well is we always recommend, if you are going to request a connection with someone, that you do send a little note as to why you are connecting. It just helps to increase the quality of the connections that you're building on LinkedIn. Are there any questions on LinkedIn? Cool. Next up is Pinterest. So like I said, Pinterest is an art gallery that lives forever. It's quite an interesting one, and we will do a whole workshop on Pinterest. But Pinterest for Business is really growing. The biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize is that Pinterest content lives forever. And I realized that last year during lockdown, when my son wanted a 3D dinosaur birthday cake. And so obviously, like every mother who's ever had to make a birthday cake in the last 10 years, went to Pinterest to go and search for ideas on how to make this 3D dinosaur cake. and I found a post. It was wonderful. Pictures showed me exactly what I needed to do, explained exactly what I needed to do. And I clicked through to her blog and realized that this particular pin that I had found, which was so very helpful, was 8 years old. And her then 6-year-old is now 14, and she's done a whole bunch of other cakes over the years, which she's documented and those sorts of things. So it really is, it's a platform where you want to be sharing evergreen content. So the kind of content that's going to help people, whether they find it this week or next year or 6 years from now, because that content lives there forever. Again, on Pinterest, you can have a personal and a business account. Again, I recommend having separate accounts. So keep your personal account where you've got all of the birthday cakes and the dress up outfits and any other information that you've been saving to Pinterest. And then set up a business account for your business and start to create collections of pins, both creating your own pins as well as pinning other pins from Pinterest into your boards. Because what happens is if you have boards with similar topics and someone pins a pin that you've already got on a board, it will then recommend other pins in your board to that person. So there's potential for people to see a lot of your content via the shared pins of other people that you might save. And the interesting thing is the numbers coming out of Pinterest as far as benefits for businesses are phenomenal. One of our clients in 3 months went from having a 2,000 sort of exposure a month in Pinterest to having 120,000 exposures a month in 3 months, just from us posting regularly for her, creating pins that were relevant and updating how she organized her boards. So there's huge potential in Pinterest to get a lot of exposure for your business if you've got the right content. And more people are going to Pinterest and saving more variety of pins. So a lot of motivational stuff, a lot of help on how to do things. Pinterest has worked really hard on showing up in SEO and those sorts of things. So you'll often find Pinterest referrals for recipes or for how-to videos or how-to step-by-steps. Pinterest is fantastic for infographics. So here's all the things, like the top 7 things to do to improve your Pinterest profile or whatever. Those kinds of images do really well in Pinterest. And it's the sort of thing that can be on Pinterest for years at a time, and it's always going to be helpful. So it's a very surprising platform, I must admit. I never thought of using Pinterest for business until Adrian on our team went on Pinterest training, and she came back, she's like, Bianca, it's amazing. And the more I've gotten to know about it, the more I realize there's amazing potential there for a wide variety of businesses as well on Pinterest. And then we get to YouTube, and YouTube as well is obviously a video platform. It's becoming more and more of a sort of social platform with conversations happening in the comments and those sorts of things. So with YouTube videos, you've got channels and brand accounts. So you'll have a personal profile, which is normally linked to a Google account. And that personal profile can have its own channel and can like things and those sorts of things. And you can also then have, I'm pretty sure I've turned that off, sorry. And then, so your personal profile can then also manage various channels, and you can have multiple channels that you are involved in. And you can also have what's called a brand account. So if you have a business and you have multiple channels within that business, that would all be managed by a brand account. And as with all of the others, there's still a person involved. So there are users who are part of managing that brand account. And within the brand account, they then have access to the various channels. When you upload a video to YouTube, you've got 3 options, and it's important to understand these options. It's important to understand the options. So you've got public, private, and unlisted. So public videos are videos that are available on YouTube, just like most of the YouTube videos that you would be watching. Private videos are restricted, and so you can't embed private videos. You can only share them with a very specific link, and you can only watch private videos on YouTube if you are the person that was invited to view it. And then unlisted videos are not listed on YouTube, so you can't find them by searching. But it's using YouTube's platform for storing your videos, and you can then use those videos to embed on your website and those sorts of things. So all of the course videos that you watch in the Biz Bootcamp videos and the BA Bootcamp videos are unlisted YouTube videos, and we then embed them into a platform which displays them on our website for you to come back and watch at a future stage. So YouTube, again, very visual, lots of how-to videos, a really good platform for gaining followers. Once you've built up a really fairly decent audience on your YouTube channel, you can actually make quite a lot of money from the advertising on YouTube. I know a couple of YouTubers who are making in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year purely from YouTube advertising and affiliate marketing of products through their YouTube channels. It's actually quite scary. There are some of those hideous kids open toys YouTube videos. Some of those people, the parents have actually left their jobs, and their full-time job is creating these videos with their children for YouTube because it pays so much money. Then as far as Twitter for business, again, you have the option of having a personal account or having a business account. Very similar to Instagram. The only major difference is that with the business account, you get more analytics available, and you can also run adverts on the platform. It's very short and sharp. In South Africa, it's very much known as Black Twitter. So there is a large potential to market to the black market, not black market like that, but to a black audience on Twitter. If you can break in there and your target audience is Black South Africans, you've got a better chance of marketing to them on Twitter than you do on any other platform. Twitter is short, sharp, punchy, usually quite a lot of sense of humor, quite a lot of strong opinions. So it's a good platform for businesses that are possibly wanting to sort of push boundaries a little bit, because they'll be able to engage in arguments and those sorts of things. Very, very technical as well. I find the vast majority of technical platforms mainly market on Twitter because their target audience tends to be on Twitter as well. And then, like I mentioned, TikTok, Clubhouse, Snapchat, I'm not 100% sure exactly how you would use those for business. Again, I think most of them generally only have a single type of profile, so they haven't developed to the point where you have a business profile or a personal profile. But I think it is important to sort of keep in mind that they are growing platforms, and anything that's growing, once it takes off, can be a really great tool in your toolbox and is useful to sort of keep in mind. Like I mentioned for TikTok, I'm seeing more and more videos of how-tos or quick tricks or those sorts of things making it onto TikTok. The other thing with social media platforms is that they very much they cross-pollinate. So you see a lot of TikTok videos on Facebook, you see a lot of YouTube videos on Facebook. And so it's worth sort of keeping in mind that these other platforms are there and they are growing, and sometimes it's worth going to have a look at them. And then I just wanted to sort of finish off with how to navigate this strange, interesting world that's out there, and how to decide which platform to work on or not, which social media platforms to be, what to focus on, and those sorts of things. My recommendation has always been that if you are likely to want to do anything in a particular platform at some point, set up the profile as soon as possible. So sign up, get the username that you want for your business, try as far as possible to have the same username across all platforms. Set up your profile to give as much information as possible, and to make it as easy as possible for people to get hold of you. If it's a platform that you are unlikely to spend a lot of time on, set up the profile in such a way that people can find you on the platforms that you are involved in. It's useful to just have a presence, because you never know when you might transition in your business, or you might discover that there's something new that you want to pursue, and it's better to do it on another platform. So it's worth setting up those profiles and having those having the ability to use that platform at that point. Generally, what we recommend is that you set up posts across the platforms. Initially, kind of when you set up your profile, populate the post with sort of the minimum required posts so that you've got information on that platform. So generally, for Instagram, we recommend putting up 9 Instagram posts, because then you fill a grid on your profile page, so that if people do click through and see your profile page, that there's information in your bio, they know how to get in touch with you, and they can see a little bit about you. That way, you're not stressing to always post across every platform. But you know that if someone goes to your profile, it's not just an empty shell of a profile. You want to look like you've put a little bit of effort into setting that platform up, even if it's not a platform that you're using a lot. The other thing to consider is choosing where your audience hangs out. So where are the people that you are targeting with your business? So for WAM Workspace, we are we are targeting creatives who are working quite a lot on social media, and we are targeting web developers who are looking to work with creatives and need help translating that information. So we tend to work mainly on Facebook and Instagram. We have Pinterest boards set up, although they aren't our core focus of marketing at the moment. We have everything set up in LinkedIn, although that's also not our core focus, because we tend to get a lot more corporate clients, and that's not really what we're looking to work with in our business from LinkedIn. And so we generally focus on Facebook and have some posts on Instagram as well, because that's where our audience hangs out. So the one aspect of it is where is your audience? The other aspect to choose the platforms that you want to work on is where are you comfortable? So where does it feel easy for you to work with your potential clients? So Facebook, for the majority of us, is where we feel the most comfortable, just because it's the one that's been around. We know how it works. It's not complicated and scary, and we get it. However, I have a number of friends where for them, Facebook is too busy and too full of people that they don't particularly want to be connected to anymore, like school friends and those sorts of things. So for them, Instagram is where they prefer to hang out and prefer to do business. And so that is where they focus their social media activity. I have other connections who prefer LinkedIn. They've come from a corporate background. They know and speak corporate. They feel comfortable in that corporate space. And so for them, that is their main focus as far as social media goes. And you are always able to cross-post information between the different platforms. And it's really useful to often do that, because you may draw an audience from one platform to another and have them connect with you there. So my key recommendations when it comes to social media for your business is update your profile across every platform you think you may need at some point. Post the minimum to make the profile look valid and real, but don't panic about posting on every single platform every single day or every single week or even every single month. Focus on where your audience is and the people that you would like to work with, and start where you feel the most comfortable. You also can, one of the other ways that some people do it is they'll start with the platform they feel the most comfortable with. Once they've worked in that for 3 months and they've got that built up and they've got a schedule going and they are posting on a regular basis and it feels comfortable, they then add a second platform, and 3 months later, a third platform. It's entirely up to you and what works for you and your business. Social media is about connecting people with people, and always remember that you don't want to hide behind a business profile all the time. You want to make sure that people know who is the person behind the profile. And that is my presentation for today. Are there any questions about social media for business?
No, I'm pretty sure you'll cover them when you do the actual Facebook and Instagram,
Sure.
for example. So,
Yeah.
And by the way, probably nothing to do with the thing, but I was just looking at the workshops that you sent out with what was being done on what day. That might be why people aren't logged in, because 21st of September was inbox management, 28th was Zoom hosting. So they
Okay, yeah, we've updated that. Yeah, I think you're the only person that we sent that original list to. Sorry, Mickey.
Can you send me an updated list then, please?
Yes, sorry. So
right.
I changed a few around because I've taken out the specific active campaign and ConvertKit ones. I'll do those as and I felt it was better to do the introduction to social media prior to getting in depth with Facebook and those sorts of things. But we'll send you the updated list. No problem. Cool.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No problem. Thanks, Mickey. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Cheers.